It's easy to say that the Russians are completely at fault, and the Russians have to take a huge amount of responsibility for what has happened in Chechnya. The Russian government, I think, behaved utterly irresponsibly in starting the war. There were many options still open, I think, to the Russian government which could have averted bloodshed. I think at the beginning of the war it was pride and arrogance that caused the Russians to go to war. But the war came at a bad time. The moment came at a bad time for Russia. The breakup of empire, the humiliation, Russian pride was bruised, and evidently, clearly, it couldn't face the prospect of further humiliation in Chechnya and decided to strike out and show that the state was still strong. It was, for me, much more emotional. In a sense, I was much more emotionally engaged in the First War, because I'd seen it coming from a long way away. I'd been there 3-4 months before the start of it and felt that there was going to be a war, and had spoken to Chechens and sensed that they were aware that there was going to be a conflict and that there wasn't any way they could quite get out of it. So there was a sense of tragedy there, which I to some extent sensed and felt and sympathized with. And there was something heroic about the Chechen resistance. Their resistance against a force which was overwhelmingly bigger than theirs. Their almost unbreakable morale had to impress you. But then they won the war. They came back from that almost impossible position to push the Russians out of Grozny and defeated the Russians, and made them leave the country. It was unbelievable. There was something very moving about it. I'd like to know why Chechen society failed to gel between those two wars. Was it simply that Chechen society just isn't capable, because of its internal structures, of creating a functioning state, or was it because the war had destroyed the society and because the Russian state had an interest right from the beginning in destabilizing any Chechen attempt to create a stable state? There are so many things that went on in Chechnya which nobody really knows the answers to. You know, I can't pretend that I knew what was happening. There's so much confusion and so many variables involved that a lot of the time I find myself thinking, I haven't the faintest idea what's going on here. You know, I can surmise, I can say that it's all about competition for oil, or it's all about various different interest groups in Russia making a lot of money out of kidnapping, that it's perhaps the Russian security services trying to compromise the Chechens so that they can find an excuse to go to war with Chechnya. Perhaps it's because Chechnya is out of control.